ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל נהיה בדברו. The more I speak, the more I go back to my roots. And you know, my roots are really the Bible, the Torah. There's where I find all my inspiration. And when one reads the Torah, how does it begin? How does the Bible begin? In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. There is a very important interpreter of the Torah. His name was Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, known as Rashi. He says the following: the Torah shouldn't have started with Genesis. Why is the Torah telling me history? After all, the Torah is a book of obligations, of things I have to do, of commandments that God gave to the Jewish people and through the Jewish people to humanity. It really should have started with the first command God gave the Jewish people while they were in Egypt. They were supposed to sacrifice a lamb, a Paschal lamb, and with its blood paint the doorposts so that the angel of death would pass over the Jewish homes. That's where it should have started. And he gives an answer why it really starts in Genesis, but I'm not going to go into that answer. But there are other interpreters who comment on the Torah, on the Bible, and don't like the question of Rashi. They say, why shouldn't the Torah begin with Genesis? Why? Because there is no direct commandment to the Jewish people, but there are many narratives that are very instructive. You find, for instance, that God addresses Cain after he kills his brother. He says, where is your brother? And he answers, am I my brother's keeper? The answer is, of course. You are your brother's keeper. You are taught that you have to have responsibility. That crime, assassination, is probably the worst crime you can commit. We see that Abraham, for instance, after he is circumcised, he is sitting in his home, and the Almighty, say our rabbis, takes out the sun so that it should be very, very warm and no one should dare travel in the desert. But the opposite is the effect upon Abraham. God didn't want him to bother with people, but Abraham is very sad because what brings happiness to him is to have people come into his home, to be able to serve them. So God sends 3 angels. The Bible doesn't say there were angels. There were 3 men, but our rabbis interpret it as 3 angels. And immediately you can see how Abraham does himself many things in order to make these people feel at home. We see that Abraham had doors in every direction, north, south, east, west, so that anybody coming from whichever angle would find an open door in order to come into his home. So you see that hospitality, good deeds for other people are very important. This you learn from the Bible. So why shouldn't the Torah have started with that? There are many things that we learn from that. We learn, for instance, that when people start going the wrong way and they behave in a very inhuman manner, God will destroy the world. This is what happens. 10 generations, our rabbis say, between the first man, Adam, and Noah. And God brought the deluge on the universe. The entire earth was covered with water and everybody perished except for one man, Noah. He saved himself. So in a sense, we are really the descendants of Adam, the first man, but then we're also the descendants of Noah, because all of humanity except for Noah's immediate family were saved in that moment. So let us go back again. Adam had 2 sons, Abel and Cain. Abel dies. What did Abel do? Abel did very little. Abel made an offering to God. That's about the only thing he did. And mind you, he wasn't the initiator of that. Actually, Cain is the one that brought first an offering to God, except that God wasn't pleased with Cain's offering, but with Abel's he was pleased. Abel dies. What happens to Cain? According to the Torah, God does not give Cain the death penalty. No, he says you will have to wander throughout the world. Everybody should know what you did and thereby teach a lesson. It's the worst thing you can do is to kill another human being. But this Cain is the one that first builds a city. He names it after a son of his. One of his descendants teaches how to use metals, maybe for hunting animals. One of his descendants is the first one to create musical instruments. This Cain is very creative. He's destructive. He killed another human being, but he's also very creative. But all of this ends because only one man, Noah, saves himself 10 generations after Adam. Where did this Noah come from? Well, the Torah says, the Bible says that Adam had a third son by the name of Seth, in Hebrew, Shet. Noah was actually a descendant of this third son, Seth. So we see that Abel and Cain disappear. From now on, we are the descendants of Seth, of this third son. But wait just a moment. Our rabbis have an oral tradition. They say something else. You know, this Noah had a wife. Her name, even though it doesn't appear in the Bible, according to the oral law, was Naamah. This Naamah was a descendant of Cain. So that we are really, on the side of Noah, we are the descendants of Seth, and on the side of Naamah, of his wife, we are the descendants of Cain. Maybe this explains aggressiveness in the world, destruction. Why are we like that? Because we also have 50% of the blood, of the genes of Cain in us. This is why you have these things in the world. But not only that, we also have creativity from Cain. We also build things. We also study. We also invent. We do many things. Look at the world we live in today. Not only mechanization, we are with artificial intelligence. We are with binary systems. We are with nuclear power. You know, oil may eventually be finished in the world. There won't be enough lumber to burn. There won't be enough coal. But there'll always be a supply of energy. Nuclear energy will always be available. You'll always be able to build atomic plants that are going to give you all the electricity, all the energy that you need. But you know that nuclear energy can be used on the one hand to illuminate, to give you energy, but it can also produce bombs. It can destroy. In a sense, while we are very creative, we inherited from Cain this ability, we are also his descendants when it comes to destruction. Maybe every creation requires some destruction also. You know, there is some relationship between the two. And you go to Europe, they tell me, and you go to churches, they're practically empty. Modern man thinks that technology, this artificial intelligence, or what have you, are going to give us all the answers to our problems. And maybe today more than ever, we have to be anchored in morality. Because on the one hand, we are very creative, but at the same time, we are more destructive than ever. So we need to have some kind of moral compass in this world. And this is what the Bible provides us. This is what Jewish tradition provides. This is what religion really provides man. So maybe as we develop and we advance in science and technology, I think we need more than ever to be anchored, to have a solid base in morality and ethics, in the belief in one only God.